there's a Buddhist parable. I don't know of what I speak. It comes to me courtesy of my therapist. It's the thing that we're talking about when we talk about befriending the critical mind. There's also like there was this goddess named Mara, I think, who at some point where the Buddha was doing his thing in the tree, which was like
taking a shit,
ignoring everything. And then there was like temptations and things, and there was a goddess named Mara that was particularly like kind of, tried to get in his head. And the phrase "I see you, Mara," like you don't have to be like go fuck yourself, die by fire or whatever. Like you just like you actually acknowledge you feed the troll sometimes.
Yeah,
maybe all the time. I just go like, yeah, my erstwhile trainer Dave Klein said of people who troll, like something I thought was kind of profound, which was actually even those people, they're just trying to connect with you, which is different from giving them credit for doing anything smart or funny or cool. You can still like look down on them and go, you're a dumb piece of shit that is choosing this method to try in some way to connect with me. Like there's absolutely no, like they might be lost to cynicism and like all this shit, but like you got to admit they're like still like that's their disease, that they're going like, I wish I had an effect on you, which is like kind of uplifting.
It's interesting because whenever you hear that critical mind voice in your head, in whatever form it is, your first instinct is to go, shut up, leave me alone, go away. And a way to deal with it, and it never works, it always comes back, but a way to deal with it is to, when it goes, you're a piece of shit, why aren't you working right now? If you would just like say, okay, hold on, why are you saying that to me? I work an awful lot, but why right now?
How many jobs do you want me to have? As many as it takes. It's like start asking it what it wants.
What do you want? What would make you happy? What would make you, critical mind, stop like saying that to me?
Church just texted me, by the way, and said it's Maya, not Mara. Maya means illusion.
Oh, okay, it's Maya. I hear you, Maya.
That's amazing that it means illusion.
Like the software.
Yeah, like the animation software.
The illusion software.
It makes stuff that isn't real.
Yeah,
I guess. Sorry,
it wasn't a punchline.
I'm trying to. I'm tabulating in my head. I'm like, did my therapist fuck up that name or did I? But I don't know why I would.
You said Mara, and I just shot a glance at Church because if anybody would know it in the building, it would be her, and she was like,
yeah,
she shook you off like Johnny Bench.
Sure. Oh, you do? I see you, illusion. Yeah, that actually makes it more profound instead of creating like just another like crazy lady character. Yeah, that's interesting. Church, you want to come up and talk about like photographing the march?
Let's bring up Church. Shorts. She's shorts. If you're a Starbucks person from Colombia, she's shorts. Because they don't know how to spell church.
Hello.
With the of course the terms of service agreement that all guests check, which is that at any time you may say a word or syllable that makes me launch into a sputtering rant about how I'm not racist. But we went down to the march, and I thought it was I don't know how to tee you up. I'm not a good teer. But because I don't want to make you feel pretentious and say like, Church, why don't you talk about how profound the imagery you captured was? But it was like, but actually, just like I thought it was cool you talking about how it was sort of like ducks in a barrel for photographers because of the simplicity of the theme. You want to go from there?
Well, yeah. I mean, what I noticed and what was making me so emotional, I mean, aside from just what was actually happening, which is seeing so many kids and even really, really little kids marching and angry and thoughtfully expressing that anger and having these brilliant signs that I could not stop crying. When you guys walked past me at a certain point, I stopped and just stood there and let the crowd kind of like move toward me and around me, because that's the best way to see everything. Because if you keep just marching with the crowd as a photographer, you're surrounded by the same 20 people as you move down the street. So for me, I stop at some point, and that just seemed like the right place to stop. But all the other protests that I've photographed, if you looked at all those photos together, would look like they could be any protest, because you see a lot of the same signs. Because we have there's so much intersectionality with all of these issues. There's so many issues happening at the same time. And so you're seeing the same things all the time.
There's always the rainbow Afro guy with the John 319.
It's all the same.
I love John 319. Doesn't get enough play.
For God also didn't love the people.
He loved them. He also didn't.
Sorry, I was trying to interject very quickly.
You've been to a lot of these. How big? It was big, right?
It was big. I haven't seen the final numbers, but
right.
the thing
it takes them a few days to tabulate and kind of estimate the crowd size, but it seemed really big.
There were over 800,000 in D.C. That's the only number I know so far. But
because
the point was that this was the only protest that, for me, in pictures, you know exactly what it is, and it's completely on one topic.
Right.
There's nothing else being talked about, and you can see that in just the images.
And even if you're like, let's take partisan politics aside, and people say that I hate the GOP, or I'm a total liberal, or like I'm anti or pro NRA. If you just look at the children that were there, the expressions on their faces were different than other protests. They looked scared and pissed off. And what if, I'm trying to picture myself if I were 13, 14, 16, 18, I was still in school. What side would I fall on? And how angry would I be in which direction? I might have been the pro-Second Amendment guy. I might have been the fuck the Second Amendment guy. I don't know. But watching kids look fucking miserable and looked really... There's a couple on Church's Instagram. There's that last one. There's no sign. The girl might have just been tired. She might just be a kid that was tired of being at a march. But there's a picture of her looking right at camera, and she just looks fucking sad. And I look at those photos, and I just start crying because I put myself in those little shoes. And I don't give a fuck what you think about gun rights or gun legislation or whatever. There's a bunch of fucking kids that are afraid to go to school. I have a niece that's fucking 8, and I've got friends that are have children that are going to school. And let's not make it about politics or make it about Trump or make it about Paul Ryan, who's a cunt. Sorry, I meant to say cunt. What's happening is like imagine being a kid going to the mall now, going to a movie theater. It's fucking crazy. We shouldn't make celebrities out of Emma Gonzalez for being the first cool chick to get up and say a bunch of awesome stuff. I think that's dangerous. I think that puts her in a bad situation. But I think that you should go around and look at Church's photos and look at the kids that were marching that day. They're scared. Their friends are dying.
They're scared. They really are. And my nephews were going to march, and then my sister texted me on Friday night, and she said that my nephews had kind of had a little bit of a panic attack about it, that they wanted so much to be a part of it, but that they were really scared to go to the march. And so she said, you don't have to go. Let's write letters to our representatives. Why don't you call? We'll call our representatives, and you can get on the phone and you can leave a message. You can read your letter and leave a message. But kids are genuinely panicked, and that's kind of one of the things that seeing that at the march, looking into their faces and seeing how seriously, I watched very young, 4 or 5-year-old kids, who seem to very much understand what was going on and have really real feelings about it. So there's all these accusations floating around, they couldn't possibly understand, and they're too young to get it, and they're just parroting their parents' views, or they're being manipulated or whatever. But you know what? Go to one of these marches and look at them and say it to their face, because they seem to understand.
Yeah, that's the thing that I wanted to interject with was I'm sure there's there are plenty of cynical people who have plenty of like whatever. We've discussed this
Oh,
before.
and
Like
the comments on her photos and my photos of Spencer holding a sign. There's a lot of hate.
But here's the thing:
people
is like,
don't like you
when
talking
you look
about
at the
this
imagery, like I don't even want to. It's like, well, look at the relationship between the parents and the children in the imagery. Look at the mothers with the daughters on their shoulders, and go ahead and start from the point of assumption that the little girl doesn't have any fucking idea what a gun is. And understand how much more sad this becomes, because it's a photograph of a relationship between a mother and daughter.
But they do. The kids are now having to learn, like the Cold War, where they had to do duck and cover drills because of doomsday, like nuclear warfare. They now have to go have quiet.
The
drill.
quiet game, the silent game.
The silent game.
Anybody with that kind of critical voice of like oh, the kids, they don't know, how could you make this their problem? It's just like we've definitely gotten to the point where that argument is so fucking dumb, because that's exactly everyone's argument. Like, and that was the really effective, like, kind of somber mood. I thought a lot of the signs and stuff was like, the theme was, whether it was a parent that made a sign for a kid or the kid that made a sign for themselves, like, the overwhelming theme was like, I shouldn't have to be involved with this. It shouldn't have come to this. I shouldn't be a voice in this conversation. We should have all been on the same page about me a long time ago. Etc.
There was one little girl in particular that made me think that, and I watched her for a while. I have a bunch of pictures of her and a little bit of a video that I posted of her with her little friend too.
Oh, that one's crazy.
And her mother had a sign that just said "Save her" and was pointing down because she knew her daughter would be at her feet most of the time, which is what caught my eye and made me start watching this little girl. But then her and her friend were like watching these older kids standing on a barricade, and they were, chanting like, "This is what democracy looks like," and "We call BS," and all this. And at one point, these two little girls, this one girl just had such a look of concern, like she was looking around like, "Isn't this obvious? Yeah, like, do something." Chanting, and look at all these people. And they were chanting, "Vote them out, vote them out." And she was staring at them. And then at one point, she just started, "Vote them out. Yeah, vote them out." Like, she had like a realization of like, yeah, that's what we do. And yes, vote them out. She was stomping her little feet. And I just burst into tears.
And she looks like one of those photos. I forget the photographer that took those great photos of the Great Depression of the little,
like the kids, the
little girl covered in like soot or dirt, and the scared look on her face, and she looked absolutely concerned.
Yeah,
like scared, miserable, and she's like, "This isn't a drill. This is some actual shit." And if people want to say, "Oh, the parents were brainwashing them," fuck you.
No, but also just imagine, like, you're 5, you play the silent game. It's been explained to you what it's about. You're going to go and you're going to hide and you're going to stay quiet for as long as the drill, and then you're going to get a little treat if you stay quiet the whole time. And then going to the march and putting into context what is actually like, this is what the silent game is about. This is what everybody's yelling about.
Yeah.
And everyone's holding signs with pictures of rifles.
And signs that say, "No more silence. Stop gun violence. Fuck silence." Start screaming. This little girl stomping. That video you took is like, we're sitting at the Redwood. I was like, we're just crying. It's fucking crazy.